Right, welcome everyone. So I noticed that we have a new guest, Christian. Welcome to the meeting. I think,
Thank you.
and I guess everyone knows you. We've seen you.
Oh yeah, thank
Videos
you,
and
thank you.
materials.
I always appreciate it when people say that they've seen the stream. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, today's meeting is UX focused, and yeah, I'm going to share agenda for today. We had several topics. Thank you, Regina. So the first one is a question. I think I can just take it. So the question is, how is Google Analytics used, and can we, how can we use it? And basically, answer is, I think we have two sources. One is we have Google Analytics for documentation, and that's not what you're asking about, or you're asking about documentation.
Um, no, I just saw like Google Analytics being used in a couple places in the
Yeah,
code, and I was
we,
wondering how that was being used.
we have Google Analytics in a product, but it can be enabled by end user. So we won't have access to the data, and we only have Google Analytics, which we collect for CD
For docs.
for docs, as well as this website, the sample Argo CD.
Oh, I see.
It has some interesting information, but I don't know if we can use it. So, and do you think Google Docs and Google Analytics would be useful at all? Basically, I'm asking. We can provide access to people if there is a need.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious to see like how many users like are, for instance, like mobile users. I don't know if there are any, but
But basically, we can get data, but only for Argo CDs that we run. So, and for example, at Intuit, we use it just to see how many people actually use user interface.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Right. In this case, we can move on. And next question is, we're looking for advice how we can use, if we need a new label in GitHub to identify issues in UI, UX areas. So
Yeah, I didn't see anything that was exactly like that. I know there's like a component UI label that you can add to issues, but like specifically for folks from Red Hat who are helping out a little bit with UI UX expertise, I thought it might be a little bit easier for them to be able to like filter through some issues where like specifically advice for UI UX is needed.
yeah, I agree that existing label is not for UX kind of. It's basically it helps people to understand what kind of code you would have to edit, TypeScript or
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess that this is the question for people who wants to help with UX. Do you think it would help? Additional label will help you to identify such issues. It makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't mind. We can go ahead create UX label, I guess. Does it?
Okay. Yeah, and I don't mind going through and like adding that to issues too. Or I actually don't know if I have the ability to add labels.
Okay. Yeah, this is fixable. Like sooner or later, you will get that ability. I think we're
Yeah.
going to have, we're going to add more members this Tuesday, actually. So this is not an issue. It makes sense to me. I feel like it's a good proposal to create UX label. Okay, let's use that name. And if
Okay.
anyone have objections, please, tell it now or in Slack. Or if
Just I created a label called UI polish a while back. I'm not sure if that would necessarily fit what Regina is looking for, but I have marked a few with that.
I did see that one. Is that one more like cleaning up though? Like
I guess so. I kind of created it with like I don't think that a lot of these UI issues qualify as bugs necessarily. And I created,
Yeah.
so just what it sounds like, UI polish. So maybe another one would be good.
Okay.
Okay, so we keep existing UI polish and create UX purely for user experience kind of improvement, not bugs. I think you can maybe apply, in some cases you might want to apply both.
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
makes sense. I was thinking specifically like if there could be a better way of doing something, like right now the current way isn't that great, but you want some expertise on how to make it better exactly, then that's something that someone could help out with.
All right, yeah, okay, so that sounds good. And I think we can move to the next topic. And I just added it before that meeting. I wanted to discuss color palette changes. And the reason is we recently had another meeting, and actually Dan from CodeFresh, he mentioned that a designer from CodeFresh is working on a new design for Argo project.github.io. And since we're going to change color palette for Argo CD and maybe Argo workflows as well, it makes sense to sync up and try to apply the same palette on this website.
Yeah, so I messaged Shubik and haven't gotten a copy yet of what the color palette, the proposed new color palette is. But if that's documented somewhere, I'd love to just plug it right into the designer that's already been working on the Argo website and have them just take the color palette and plug it in.
Yeah, and I think maybe Regina, can you describe, because since you worked on it, maybe you can describe what color palette we're talking about.
Right. So the color palette that we took was actually from Remington's ideas. And I just implemented them in the status badge. I can link that issue. I don't know if it necessarily shows. Actually, hold on. I think there's a Slack
Feel free
thread that has it. Okay. This is the Slack thread that has this like color palette that Remington had proposed. It's not implemented anywhere across. It's not, I don't know how, maybe Remington can talk to this if he's on the call, but I'm not sure how much exactly he thought about like using this as part of the entire website. I'm not sure. Like,
I didn't think about using it across the whole website at all.
Yeah. Okay.
I picked these mainly because they were high contrast and they were very easy to see at a glance.
Right.
But I'm sure that they could have some sort of use across the UI, but I don't think that the whole UI should be based off of these.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so these are really just for the status badges. There's not like a color palette specific to like, oh, we're gonna uplift the Argo CD UX, and here's the new color palette we're gonna use.
This is where we started. Yeah. And
yeah. This was just starting. I think overall there was a need within Argo CD UI to have more contrast with the colors for web accessibility. But we hadn't come up with like an actual like color palette to use. These were just for the status badges and we were trying them out.
Got it. Okay. So I mean, I can show you just what we had so far, and you can tell me if you think this is potentially, you know, a problem from a color perspective. Let's see, here it is. So let's see, can I share my screen?
do you have permissions or I have to give it somehow?
Nope, I got it.
Awesome.
So this isn't a huge departure from what's in there today. But basically the purple was toned down a little bit. They brought out the orange as a highlight color to match the Argonaut. And then we were looking at potentially taking, this is not even correct, but like this isn't supposed to be Argo workflows. This one's supposed to be Argo CD. But we were thinking about taking the Argonaut and making like a specific version for each tool in the suite. So that's kind of the direction we're going. But just in terms of palette, I mean, this is, pretty basic. It's just using orange as a highlight color. There's lower energy orange in there too, and then kind of lower, lower darker purples than previous. So it doesn't seem like this is necessarily in conflict with anything that you're doing, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think this looks really great. The only thing that like, I would question is like how many, like there would have to be like a more expanded palette for it because the colors that are associated with like health status and sync status, and those have to be like kind of noticeable colors because of how people use them for like quick scanning for statuses.
Yeah, that makes sense. So should I, as we work on the website, Regina and Remington, do you just want to both be looped into like where we're going with that? I mean, it's not specific to the, I think you're focused on UX and we're just working on like a new marketing website, but maybe just to keep you in the loop. And so you can point stuff out and tell us like, oh yeah, don't use that color. That's not the color we want or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, I'll loop you in on the next kind of revision here.
Awesome, thank you. All right, since we don't have any other UX topics, I can talk a little bit about state of current milestone, unless anyone else wants to propose some UX topic. Okay, if not, then maybe I can just quickly update you about what changed in 2.0 release. First of all, I think you've seen update from Jesse that we spoke with our product managers and basically we changed the next milestone from 1.9 to 2.0. And the reason is that it's kind of for marketing purposes. We doesn't seem like we have any breaking changes, so there is no pressure to. It doesn't have to be 2.0, but we have so many new features, so it is going to help us to get more attention to that new release. And so we have application set, Argo identifications, and image updater, and feels like we're going to package all three as part of bundle of Argo CD. So all these three projects are pretty much extension of Argo CDs and a part of release. So that's one thing that has changed. And I think only side effect of it is that we're going to, if we're following Golang convention, we will have to make a change, basically the next version of, so some projects use Argo CD as a library, and as soon as we upgrade, everyone who uses it will have to change the way they import Argo CD, and they would have to append v2. This is just how Golang modules work. But besides that, no additional unexpected changes. It would be just regular release, except different, a major version bump, and maybe more noise about it. Okay, yeah, that's one. If there are no questions about that, I just wanted to highlight the progress. So we've closed some, most of blocking issues actually for the previous release. I noticed just one, which is Redis upgrade. I think it's, so the end users noticed that the version of Redis that we use right now, it has vulnerabilities, and there is already a newer version which is considered stable, which is v6. And I think it's literally the last change that we must do. And everything else, I don't feel very terrible to carry over other fixes and feature requests to the next release. Yes, and of course there is some work which is not highlighted here. So we still need to, oh, actually it is highlighted. We need to add application set to Argo CD stack. And we have to do the same, I think, for Argo CD notifications and Argo CD image updater. But it's not really code changes, it's mostly documentation changes. And besides that, and we have a couple other issues in progress, but I'm not mentioning them right now because they're getting to be done, getting closer to be done. Yeah, so as a quick summary, it seems like we're almost ready to wrap up everything. And I guess next week we can create cut release and start testing. And as always, we're looking for volunteers to help with testing. And so last time what we did, we simply, we didn't have so many people who participated in testing, so it was really easy to coordinate. And what we did last time, we just created a spreadsheet, and spreadsheet had list of most notable changes that require testing. And so, each row would have a name of a feature, and then we had a bunch of columns with people who volunteered to test. And and then basically for the next week, we would just, each of us would go through each and every feature and then either leave comments or just put a checkbox to kind of highlight that feature was tested. And basically I'm proposed to do the same for this new release.
That sounds good. And I think we had a number of folks that participated last time that would be able to do the same.
Yeah, and it did help a lot. Basically, we catch a lot of things before they didn't slip into release. Okay, awesome. So I feel like if no one have any objections or better ideas, I can create that spreadsheet and then share it, I guess, maybe next Monday or Tuesday before we create release candidate. And I guess we can spend next several days to test and maybe create release candidate before end of next week, hopefully. Okay, that's awesome. Surprisingly, I feel like we ran out of any topics earlier. Okay, it's 22 minutes.
So one topic was the next person for the GitHub discussion moderation.
Yes, and your feedback, Jonathan, about the previous.
Yes. Yeah. So pretty straightforward. I think I answered about 7 or 8 questions. Spent maybe 30 minutes today on it in total. So not too much work. Fairly straightforward. A few questions that I left because it seemed like folks were more interested in getting community feedback rather than anything strictly related to how-tos. But yeah, that was my experience this week.
Awesome. That sounds good, and seems like very consistent feedback from everyone who did it is that it's not too much of work. It's basically like less than 10 questions every week. And
yeah, exactly.
And we need a volunteer for next week. I'm going to let please think about it, who wants to volunteer. And I wanted to kind of squeeze in another topic. I think we will have to talk about it later again, but basically we spoke with Jan and he proposed to maybe have another meeting which is less frequent, or maybe we can reuse exact same meeting to kind of do issue triaging and try to. So the idea is that people who is going to work actively on Argo CD would go through open issues and then try to basically prioritize them and include into milestone. I guess for every release, with help of like product managers, we can come up with list of big features that have to be part of release. But at the same time, we have a lot of small feature requests and then polishing of existing features and bug reports. And some of them, and basically, we don't have any process that helps us decide which one of those goes into release or not. And this is an attempt to make it, more kind of organized. Yeah, so Jan proposed to do that, and he's not in that meeting today. But what do you think, people? Like, would you want to participate, or you think it deserves a separate meeting? Or even another option is we can do it totally offline, and maybe, I don't know, have a spreadsheet, and then basically that spreadsheet is, or GitHub label, and basically the label would be used to propose a ticket to be included into milestone, and then somehow we vote and edit or don't edit.
Yeah, I think this would be a good meeting to do it.
Yeah,
I was about to second that.
Yep, that's my vote too.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I think let's maybe quickly discuss it in Slack one more time. And I feel like I also thought that maybe we need another meeting. Not necessarily, not everyone have to participate, and we can just do it like every 2 weeks, for example, and kind of that will help us to build, backlog for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. It would just be a matter of, how much time does it take? How much time do we tend to have in this meeting with all the topics that get discussed? Certainly it's the case that some weeks, we're full to the brim with topics, and, sometimes we've got maybe half an hour or more free. So I guess it varies from week to week.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds good. Now, back to the previous question about a volunteer for next week. Anyone wants to answer questions for next week? If not, I think it's maybe I can do it because I done it last time, like a couple months ago. I think it's. Okay, so I'm going to be volunteer for next week then. Okay, so let me stop sharing. Now it's our time, so we can talk about something else, or we can just wrap up early. So waiting 1 more minute, and if there are no topics, then meeting is over.
So about the version change, it's only applied to Argo CD, not the Git engine, right? So
yes, I think GitOps engine, it has kind of different versioning. We use it for, end users don't see it, so they don't care,
right.
And we mostly use it just to enable cherry picking. I think there will be a version bump. It will go from 0.2 to 0.3, and I think we will have to create release branch, but it's mostly just to enable us to cherry pick fixes if we get anything, if we need to have a hotfix for 2.0, we won't have to pull all the changes in Git engine. Yeah, we could just cherry pick one hotfix.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thanks.
Yeah, and just to remind, it's kind of Jan asked me the same question a couple days ago. So I think we basically right now, master Argo CD uses tip of master of GitOps engine. And like in one of these meetings a couple months ago, we agreed that we're going to use the same model for master, but for release, we agreed to create release tags, and it just looks better, kind of. So released version of Argo CD uses stable tag, and it kind of, so it emphasized that it was tested and then tagged as a stable release.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we ran out of topics. So yeah, time to wrap up and everyone can get back 30 minutes.
Okay. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
See everyone next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.